Welcome everybody. This is the Tushars Mountain Runs. It is race week and here we go. I'm just going to go through the website, kind of run down the list so a lot of this information is there. Then I'll kind of add some extra stuff as we go through the website in case there's a little more detail to your weekend. We are super stoked to have everybody join us. It is a sold out weekend in the Tushar Mountains. And we've cleared just about the entire wait list. So thank you for your patience, everybody, and hope everybody has safe travels coming out there. As you've probably seen, there is some weather. So hopefully just afternoon thunderstorms like you would see in the mountains and nothing too serious. And but that's why we have the required gear. And just be prepared for that. Same thing with you half marathoners, even though we don't require the gear. That rain jacket could come in handy if you're expecting to be up on the peak kind of late morning, early afternoon when the storms have kind of been rolling in to those areas. With that, so we're going to move up. So the 100K starts at 5 a.m. That is your first race of the weekend. And then we're going to switch over to, or the 70K then was going to start at 6:30. We'll have them start at 6. And everybody moves up half an hour after that, basically. So instead of 7 o'clock for the marathoners, they'll start at 6:30, and the half marathoners will be 7:30. I know it's kind of short notice, but as you'll see when you get up there to Mount Delano or Delano Peak is pretty exposed, and it's over 12,000 feet. So if we can get you off there a little bit faster, that's what we want to do, and hopefully it won't cause too much disruption, but so that would be half an hour earlier for the 70K marathon and half marathon. And just for reference, Civil Twilight starts at like 6:03. So 70Kers, you'll be able to start, in my opinion, without a headlamp still. And then marathoners, you'll be fine as sunrise is 6:30. So it'll be light enough out. It won't affect that. But we think this would probably be a good move. And we'll go from there. All right, let's go through the website, kind of go over a few things. I know this is kind of a hidden gem I always say about this mountain range, and it really is. Like the farther in the course you go, the more beautiful it gets, and it will push your limits. It's super fun. A lot of climbing, some steep climbing, some long climbing, some great descents, and some really fantastic single tracks. So it's a little bit of everything. Just keep plugging away, make sure you stay ahead of those cutoffs and just keep plugging away. Now, the gear requirements, real quick, I'll go over that. So the biggest thing, I think, is the cell phone GPX. That's what we always get questions on. The rain jacket's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, each year, whenever we're course marking, and sometimes even during the race, we get just hammered with rain, and we kind of realize, like, we need to have this required gear. And there's been multiple times that Jamil and I have been out course marking where we're just hunkered down for 45 minutes to an hour where it's like, you just don't want to be out moving. So we account for that in the cutoff. We account for that with the race, and that's why we want to make sure that you have that gear. So in case you do stop, it gives you an opportunity to not be immediately freezing cold and wet. So make sure you have that. The cell phone GPS is mostly, we want you to have the race course on your phone, on your body somehow. The cell phone's obviously great. In case you do have service, you can text or call in case of an emergency, but mostly along with that, we want you to have the course because there's lots of wildlife up there. Things happen, weather, stuff gets trampled, and then it's harder to find ribbons. And when you're out there, you're out there. It'd be nice to be able to know where to go. Just look at your watch or your phone and see, because it shows you exactly where you are in airplane mode, tells you exactly when to move forward and when to, if you're going the wrong way or not. So that is something we recommend, but you have to have one of those devices on you for this race. All right, I'm going to skip through the description of the courses. Hopefully by now you've read it. I imagine you've heard lots about it. Like I said, it's long climbs, some exposed, some in the trees, and they're just pretty epic. Like, it's just a pretty incredible course. So I'm going to skip over that because that can get pretty lengthy, and I find myself talking about individual sections on the course, and after everyone saying, I think this is my favorite section. And then I head to the next section, and it's like, oh, I think this is my favorite section. So they're all just pretty awesome, and I hope you guys all have a great time when you're out there. So, all right, Friday, when you arrive, so Eagle Point Ski Resort is the host area. That is, they bring us in. We're allowed to camp there and everything. And starting on Friday, We will have our pack a pickup, which is 4 to 7 like usual. When you come to pack a pickup, you need to have your required gear. Excuse me. You need to have your required gear with you to get your bib. That's how we know you did it. And then we'll give you your packet. And then in the morning, when you come back, we need you to check back in the 2 longer distances for sure to make sure you know you started. Just let them know. We'll check your name off the bib, and that's it. So, but 4 to 7 for that. There's also those pre-race meals, which the Skyline Lodge is hosting. That you could prepay with your registration. You probably saw. I think it was $7 prepaid. It's $10 at the resort, and it's pasta dinner. They have a salad bar as well. That's like 4 to 9, and he said he was going to try to leave some extra to-go boxes in a hot box up there that you guys could grab from one of their staff people after 9, in case you're running late and coming in and need some food. So they also will have a limited menu at the Skyline Lodge in their back deck, I think is where it is. You can go upstairs and talk to them and they'll let you know. But so other food items besides our pasta dinner. And then on Saturday, they're doing a teriyaki bowl with rice. That is your post meal. And there's a veggie option for that, obviously. But that'll be it. So kind of switch it up this year from a taco bar to the teriyaki bowl. So come grab that. In your race packet, when you pick up your bib, you're going to get your event crew pass that'll go in your windshield of your car. And that's for 70K and marathon only. There's no crewing in the shorter distances. And then you'll get your food meal tickets. It's just a little raffle ticket. You hand it to them at the cashier. Then they keep track of it for us. And you get your bib, you get your shirt if you had a shirt, and you get a sticker. So real quick, I don't have a picture of that, but you'll all get it soon enough. And we did kind of in somber news, but something we're doing our best to kind of carry on the torch here is Matt Gunn was the founder of Tushar Mountain Runs, and he ran the event, directed it and everything for I think 2 or 3 years, and then Vacation Races took it over, and then we took it over from them, and so we're on our 4th year directing the race. Last year Matt passed, so we're kind of trying to, you'll see a few kind of odes to Matt, like the stickers pretty much revolves around Matt Gunn and Tushars, and then the shirt has a quote on the back from Matt Gunn. So if you don't know who that is, he is the race founder. He started the whole Grand Circle series of races, trail races, and he was just a pretty epic kind of, he found the hardest, toughest races, and you'll see on there, like one of the things is Matt Gunn wants to make you cry. Like that's like the hashtag that came out of some of these, and maybe you'll understand that once you run it. But anyway, if you see, that's what it is. It's kind of we're trying to, keep the torch going for Matt and raise some awareness on mental health along the way. And so that's kind of the reference points for those. Moving along, we do take drop bags on Friday night. Bullion is your only drop bag. That would be 70K and 100K. And so in the lodge, as you go in the lodge, you'll pull up to the parking lot. The lodge will be on your right. There's an open deck with a roof on it. That's where we put the drop bags, just so they're kind of out of the weather. You can drop them there. We'll pick them up and take them. If you're getting in super late or something, we'll do our best to accommodate that and get that out for you before you get there in the morning, because there will be probably a second run of people heading towards Bullion. So don't super sweat over it. If you can get it there beforehand, that's awesome, super helpful for us. And then keep it to a minimum, of course, the size. There's also race day registration or race morning bib pickup. No registration as it's sold out, but so that starts at 4:15, and you can come pick up your bib and everything then if you don't make it in time Friday night. No problem there. I kind of skipped over it there on the chart, but food for the 100K, actually marathon, 100K, 70K, as the farther you get into your race, the more substantial we add food. So we try to mix it up. Patty Curry does an unbelievable job with all of this. And so I think Mud Lake, there's some sort of roll-ups or sandwiches, because you'll get there around that time. And then Bullion offers similar things like wraps or sandwiches. I think chickpea, chicken salad. And then Miners will have a little more hot food, because you might get there in the dark. That goes until 10:30 p.m. And then Allie United will have potato soup and quesadillas and stuff like that to make it kind of give you that nutrition for the final stretch there. Moving along. I'm going to go over the cruise really quick because this is kind of a touchy thing for us every year. We're always we always put the notice on there, but there's a pass in between Mud Lake and Bullion, and you kind of switch back up some steep switchbacks, and then it goes back down. It's really pretty views and stuff, but it's clay, like terrain up there, and it's slick if you get going, or if it gets really wet. So as of now, we're planning on allowing crews to go up there, and we'll review it Friday night and Saturday. And if we have to close it to crews, we will. Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully the ground's fine and it's doing it. But we'll have a staff person there probably to make that call on race day, because it's pretty slick up there and there's not much room for error, and a big cliff you'll see on the side. So that would affect Bullion basically. If you could still get to Mud Lake, and then if you wanted to go to Miners, you would then have to leave the mountains, go all the way around to Marysvale, and then go through, which is a long drive, probably over 2 hours from Mud Lake. So otherwise it's 20 minutes to Bullion over the pass. So let's hope for the best there, but just keep that in mind. That's a possibility. All of the aid stations are pretty drivable. Relatively like a Subaru type clearance or an SUV. Like, you don't need four-wheel drive if the roads are not wet and muddy. So that's kind of a nice thing. Miners and Bullion, we have lots about a quarter mile to a half mile before the actual aid station, which are totally allowed. Just to space people out, you can crew your runner there, just to cut, because you'll see there's not a lot of space at any of these places. So those are kind of the places to crew. And at Mud Lake, it's basically you pull off into a field. There's like a small parking area. Just be courteous of other people and the landscape. Like, make sure we're not destroying everything, running out. And we don't want to park on the main road. If you're going to block traffic at all, we just can't. You'll have to, do a loop, wait till another crew person leaves, and then come back. So these are all really important things for permitting in future years. So just please be conscious of that as you're crewing your runner, and make sure everybody has a good time year after year. Talked about drop bags, pacers, same thing. You can start at Bullion the second time through for 100K, and then the 70K at Bullion. You go all the way down to Miners, which is about 4,000 foot descent, and then from there somebody else can pick up, or you can continue from Miners on to the finish, which is 14 or so miles. There's no crew access to Alunite. It's a pretty gnarly road up in there, and there's no parking or anything, so no access there. So you just have to wait. What other stuff is important here? Yeah, cutoffs, obviously very important. We do our best to make them as fair as possible. I think the one that has changed from year over year is the marathon. We gave you guys an extra 30 minutes, and technically if we started an extra 30 minutes earlier, that's an extra hour. I know we've had some people really fighting the cutoff coming off Delano from Alunite, and so hopefully this will help cut that off, and then you still have until 8 p.m. to get to the finish. So that should be helpful. Okay, one other thing I want to mention, and I believe I told most people, and we announced it, but if you can see, so this is Miners here, this is the 100K, and technically 70K is the same exact route. So when you come down from Bullion, this is a long, beautiful descent. You come down to Miners, and then as you can see, it's pretty steep switchbacks. And you just switch back all the way up, and then it gets real steep here. And then you kind of pop out in this old, like rarely used road. And then in the past, we used to go straight up this ridge line, and it was absurd. It was like, there's no trail or anything. Anyway, we had to reroute it because it's now in a restoration area. They're doing projects with one of the universities, try to see what happens when there's nobody on it. So we're going around this Edna, kind of on another dirt road, and then you'll do a cut up this Edna Peak through the radio towers, their property, and then cut back down South Edna and back on the road. So it's just this little section. I think it's a total of about 1.6 miles. It's different, but it still gets you up to the peak at Edna. So you don't really miss anything except for this super steep grassy ridge line, and then you just carry on all the way back to the finish. So that's for the 70K and 100K, and then nothing different for the marathon, nothing different for the half marathon. One other thing I will mention with the 100K, because I'll click back in here. When you are going, so you're going to start, your first aid station is Alunite, and then you're going to climb up and then climb down into this like basin and go all the way back up onto Delano, which is right here. Get your picture, enjoy the view. Like, it's pretty incredible. Hopefully the weather's nice and it's clear and you can see in the morning before any storms or anything. Then you go a steep descent onto the road. Anyway, you go all the way down, come back up. Just make sure right before Mud Lake, the trail goes directly straight. And if you have to make a right to exit the trail to go towards Mud Lake. It's a very short out and back. And we have extra signs and stuff that actually say 100K right towards Mud Lake. But just make sure you're paying attention here, because otherwise, A, you miss part of the course, which is obviously an issue. B, you're going to go a lot farther without aid. So just make sure you make this out and back, and then your other out and back is the Copper Belt, which is really quite amazing climb as well, and possibly one of the best views on the course. But make sure you make that Mud Lake out and back. That is important. What else? Camping I'll talk about real quick. So here's the kind of the overview. You're going to drive up Elk Meadow Drive to Skyline Lodge, where it dead ends. We'll have our, this is the big lodge here. Pack-a-Pickup will actually be in our store, which is kind of just down by the start finish. You just walk straight down this little walkway. You'll see our tents there, and you'll probably see a line of people waiting to get their packets. But all of the start finishes here, you run down a hill, down a ski slope, and then you'll finish coming back up the hill on this little out and back. All the dispersed camping, you'll see a bunch of trees, which will be on your left. This is on the right of the picture. And then down below, there's a smaller lot. This is paved. That is where the RVs and campers go. And then just below that is more grass and dirt and trees over here, and you can camp there as well with your tents. The park or the resort itself takes the camping on. Like, we're not like a middleman on that. So you'll just go to the Skyline Lodge, pay for it. We're working on having a link. I know I mentioned it, and I was going back and forth with Eagle Point about that. Hopefully, by the time you get the runner email tomorrow, that link will be active and running, and then tomorrow being Wednesday. And then we can have the link in there. And then you can at least pre-register, and that'll kind of take some of the burden off them on Friday and Saturday. And then just, parking and RVs, just make sure you're not taking up a ton of space. Just there's lots of people come in, lots of people need to park and camp. So make sure there's other people there besides you. Okay, one other thing. I think that'll just about do it without getting too long and wordy here, but is volunteers. So we are having a hard time filling some of the slots, mostly at aid stations, and that would be Alunite Ridge Aid Station, which there's morning and a PM shift. I think it might even be a mid shift, because that one goes from about 6 a.m. until 2:30 in the morning. It's the last aid station open for the 100K and 70K. That is a very important one. And then Miners Park, which is kind of down by Marysvale, and that goes until 10:30 p.m. That's probably I think it's like 9 or 10 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. So those are the two biggest ones. Copper Belt Peak is another one. That only goes till 6:45. And I will say, if you're out there crewing a runner and you want to see them at some of these aid stations, like Alunite or Copper Belt, where there's no crews, if you sign up for volunteer shift, then you get to see your runner in another place and help us out at the same time. So you can go online and sign up. Right at the top of the website, it'll say we need volunteers or volunteers needed, and you can sign up for whatever shift works for you. Also, if you're there crewing and your runner is taking longer than you expected, ask the aid station, if you feel comfortable with it, ask the aid station if they can use some help filling waters or cutting fruit or sandwiches or something, and I'm sure they would take it, because like I said, we're doing our best to staff it with our own Aravaipa staff and collecting volunteers. We're still just a little tight, so we're trying to fill in those gaps if possible. So you can sign up for that right up until race day, or call or email me, which is just Noah at Aravaipa Running. So I think that'll just about do it. without going into every single detail, like I said, the required gear is important. Make sure you're prepared for the weather. So that includes probably an extra layer if you're going to be out there all day. Because if you stop and you're wet or it's wet and rainy, you're going to get cold quick, especially if you're kind of laboring on the climbs or descents. And just everybody have a safe trip up there. I know most people, it's a trek for you guys as well. We're super excited to have you, and let's have a great weekend in the Tushar Mountains. Thank you, everybody.